breaking down the most common bookkeeping challenges and how to overcome them. My name is Zach Pasquarello. I own a bookkeeping business. I've been doing it for 4 years. I have over 80 clients who I service every single month. I make these videos honestly because I love teaching other people how to start and grow their own bookkeeping business, and I just love talking about my own bookkeeping business. Everything I talk about based on my personal experience. It's not something I learned in college, or it's not something I learned by reading a book. Everything I talk about is all based on my own experience. A ton of people have asked me so many great questions, and because of that, I have developed some extra resources just for you. Check them out in the description of this video. Hopefully they can help you. Let's get right to it. Let's not waste any time. I'm going to go down how to overcome some of the most common bookkeeping challenges. Number 1, managing deadlines and staying organized. Deadlines, that's what bookkeeping is all about. We complete tasks. We have deadlines every single month, every quarter, every year. That's very common for bookkeepers and accountants. We do 3 things as bookkeepers. We categorize transactions, we reconcile accounts, and we generate financial reports. Those are 3 things that we have to do every single week, every single month, sometimes every single year. So by doing those 3 things, we need to manage our deadlines, because if we fall behind, we're going to get stressed out, we're going to have unhappy clients, and it's not going to end well. So for us, we need to stay organized. Every single week, I categorize my clients' transactions every single week. And then every month, I reconcile their accounts. And then I send them their financial reports. And then if you do sales tax or payroll tax or 1099s, those things will be due quarterly and annually. But for the most part, a bookkeeper's job is weekly and monthly. Every week, categorize, every month, reconcile, and generate reports. You can get a CRM like Asana or Keeper. I've heard some things about Keeper. I've never personally used it. My personal opinion, software like that sometimes tends to overcomplicate things unnecessarily. They're great. Nothing wrong with them, but they can be complicated. Me personally, I'm an Excel spreadsheet kind of guy. I love Excel spreadsheets. I live in Excel. I made a workflow spreadsheet. It's so simple. Like, you don't even need to ask me for the template, because you can seriously just make it on your own. It's just a bunch of columns. In the first column, I have the business name, and this is just a list of all my clients. In the first column, I have their name. The second column, I have their email address. In case I want to contact them quickly, I can copy their email and send them an email if I forget. And then in the next column, I probably have the month and year that they started, just so I know when I onboarded them. The next column, I have their industry. And this is just miscellaneous information that I have found useful. You don't need in your workflow spreadsheet, you don't need to include when they started. You don't need to include their industry, but that's just things that I've added over time that prove to be useful. And then in the next column, I have their day of the week, because everybody's done weekly. This is the most important column. Honestly, you don't need anything else. You just need the client's name and then the day of the week. And then in the next column, so Monday would be 1, Tuesday would be 2, Wednesday would be 3, so on and so forth. So on Monday, I have a filter at the top, and I just type in, I filter out 1. And so I see all my clients who have a 1 next to their name, and I know that's who I'm doing on Monday. Same thing with Tuesday. Same thing with Friday. I put a 5 on Friday, and I do everybody with a 5 on Friday. And then the next column, I just have like a yes or no, like, did you do them, basically. And I just put today's date. So today is October 25th. So for all of my 5 clients, I'll put 10/25/2024. And then next week, I'll erase all of those dates, and then I'll go through it again. And then the next column over, I have, did you categorize their transactions? And then the next column over, did you reconcile their accounts? And then did you send them their P&L? So categorize, reconcile, P&L. So at the end of the month, If all of their transactions are categorized, I'll say yes. If they aren't, I'll say no, or maybe I'll say questions. Questions means that I asked them, sent them an email with a list of questions. So I was not able to categorize their transactions. Did you reconcile? Yes. That means I got their bank statements. No, that means I didn't get their bank statements and I still need their bank statements. So that way, this week, I'll do everybody I can. Next week, when I go through, I'll look through my workflow spreadsheet, see who still has a no next to their name. So I know for that client, I need to ask them again for their bank statements. Please, reminder, send me last month's credit card statements. I have more than 80 clients. So I really only get half of them done in the first week, and then the other half gets done in the next week. So managing deadlines and staying organized is by far the hardest part and the most important part about customer service. Getting clients, marketing and sales, hardest part about starting a bookkeeping business. Delivering high quality customer service, managing deadlines, staying organized, most important part of starting and growing a bookkeeping business. Marketing and sales is irrelevant if you don't have a good product. If you can't deliver high quality customer service, it doesn't matter how many clients you get because you're going to lose them all if you do a bad job. So delivering high quality customer service, most important part of this whole thing. Okay, number 2, handling disorganized accounts. This is really stressful, especially for a big cleanup or a big catch-up project. If you get a client who's really unorganized, it's really challenging as a bookkeeper because if you're anything like me, you probably thrive on organized finances. That's why we're bookkeepers. We love to see accounts tie out, everything reconciled, everything categorized, chart of accounts neat and organized. We love that. Unfortunately, a lot of the clients that you're going to work with don't have that. It's just the nature of the industry. We can't care more about their finances than they do. I'm not saying do a bad job. I'm just saying you have to manage your own expectations. If there's a client who is super organized, super particular, a micromanager, quick to answer questions, very particular with what they want, I'm here for it. I'm all about it. I will do my best to accommodate you 100%. If you ask me to do something, if you ask me to change something, it's your books, absolutely, I'll change it. But if there's a client who doesn't respond to my emails, doesn't answer my questions, impossible to get a hold of, there's only so much I can do. I can't care more about your books than the client does. So you just have to keep that in mind. When you're dealing with disorganized accounts, disorganized clients, if they want to be involved, if they're really particular, like I said, I'm all about it. 100%, I will do my best to meet every demand. But if they don't answer my emails, there's nothing I can do about it. It's challenging for bookkeepers because, we can't read minds. I can't tell you how many times I've asked somebody a question and they've said, don't know. What do you want me to do about that? If you don't know, I definitely don't know. So in that situation, I tried to explain to the client why it's important. Okay, just so you know, if you don't know let's say you went to the ATM, pulled out $500. If you don't know what this was for, then it might not be categorized correctly. In the event of an audit, they're going to ask for receipts. If you don't have receipts, you might not be able to write this off as a business expense. If you can't write this business expense off, then that means you're going to have to adjust your tax return. You're going to owe more taxes, which means you might incur penalties, fines, and interest because you underreported your income. That's why it's so important. Just explain to the client why it's important. I need to know who you paid and what you bought for every transaction. I need to know if it was income or a liability, or whenever you spent money, did you pay yourself? Who did you pay? A contractor? Supplies and materials, advertising and marketing. This stuff's important so that not only for tax compliance in the event of an audit, but also for internal management. Like if you want to see truly how much money you made, how much money you spent, where you spent your money, this stuff is important. Ask questions and then gauge a client's interest in communicating. And then adjust your game plan accordingly. I do this a lot with catch-up projects and cleanup projects. In the very beginning, when I onboard a client, I'll usually come up with a list of questions and send them to the client and then see, do they respond same day? Maybe it takes them a couple days to respond. Maybe it takes them a couple weeks to respond, or maybe they never respond. That does happen sometimes. So gauge your client's interest in communicating and interest in helping to organize their finances, and then adjust your game plan accordingly. If they're quick to answer my questions, I will be more detailed with the questions I ask them. If it's like pulling teeth to get them to answer questions, I might ask them fewer questions just because I don't want to seemingly bother them or inconvenience them, or I don't want their inability to answer my questions to hold us back from reconciling accounts and generating financial reports. Be strict with your processes. So handling disorganized accounts can be stressful, especially whenever their disorganization starts to affect you and the way you're operating your business. So if you bend to every client's way of operating, it's not scalable. Some clients might text you pictures of receipts. Other clients might upload receipts into QuickBooks. Other clients might upload receipts into a Google Drive. Sometimes they might email you receipts. You can imagine, as your business grows, it becomes impossible to keep up with every client's way of doing things. Here's a really specific example. For class tracking transactions, I need to know, for a real estate investor, I need to know you went to Home Depot, you spent $500, which property did it go to? This is a really difficult thing to do for real estate investors, but it's so important. And some people struggle with this, rightfully so. It's really tough to keep up with it. Most people who hire a bookkeeper are probably doing that because finances stress them out and they struggle to stay organized financially. I totally get that. That makes sense. But you need, as the bookkeeper, you need to come up with a process for collecting this information. Whatever that looks like for you, that's going to be different, but you can't adjust your processes for every client because as you get 10, 20, 40 clients, you can't operate 40 different ways just to make them happy. Think about this. We're not employees. We're independent contractors. We're entrepreneurs. We're business owners. We have a way of running our business. We can't run our business differently for every client. And that's okay. You have to be okay with losing some clients who aren't willing to work with us. You got to be okay with it because it's not worth it for you, your mental health, your stress. It's not sustainable. It's not scalable. Number 3, communicating questions. There's 2 different types of questions. Obviously, I ask my clients questions. My clients ask me questions. 2 totally different situations. First, let's talk about when I ask them questions. Sometimes they're not going to answer. I already talked about this a little bit. What I recommend doing, if they answer your question, great, too easy. If they don't answer your question, here's what I do. Let's say, for example, there were 5 checks, all for $1,000. I send my client, hey, here's a list of checks. Not sure, I can't see who you paid. I don't know what you bought. Could you please provide me some more information? They don't answer. A week goes by. I'll send them a gentle reminder. Hey, reminder, please try to get back to me so I can update your books accordingly. Another week goes by. Hey, another reminder. I really need this information. Please let me know. Who did you pay? What did you buy? 3 weeks go by. If they don't say anything, if they don't respond to my emails, in my opinion, I tried pretty hard to get the necessary information. So what I'll do is I'll just do something. I'll categorize them to the best of my ability. Maybe I'll put them in uncategorized expenses. Maybe I'll put them in supplies and materials or repairs and maintenance. Depends on the business. I'll do something and then I'll document it. Categorize them, export the list of transactions, and then let them know. Hey, just letting you know, here's these 5 transactions. I categorize them as supplies and materials. Please let me know if you want me to change it. That's all you can do. That's all you can do. We're not mind readers. We can't come up with answers to if they're not giving us any answers. Like we can't categorize things accurately if we don't have all the information. So don't get hung up on this. It's going to be stressful. As a bookkeeper, it stresses me out, but don't get hung up on it. Just ask them, do your best, try really hard to get all the information, but there's only so much you can do. So do something, document it, and then let them know about it. Ultimately, business owners are responsible for their finances. Even tax returns. Business owners are responsible for their tax returns. They sign off on their tax return. So you might have a CPA preparing your taxes, but you're still responsible for what that CPA puts on your tax returns. The business owner is still responsible for having updated and accurate financial reports. It's still their responsibility to review everything that you do. Okay, so what happens if they ask you a question? The first thing I do, read the email. And if I'm confused at all, immediately I ask for clarification. Ask a follow-up question. If you don't totally understand what they're talking about, ask a follow-up question. Ask for clarification. Be quick with this. Don't spend too much time reading people's emails. You're going to get a lot of emails as your business grows. Be quick to respond. Ask for clarification if you're confused. If they send you a question and it's like the question requires a long answer, what I do is recommend a meeting. Hey, that's a great question. I don't think I'll be able to answer it completely in an email. Let's schedule a meeting. Here's my availability. And this way, if the client is serious about answering their question, they'll schedule a meeting with you. If they're not serious about it, they probably didn't really care too much, they're not going to schedule a meeting. And now neither of you waste your time. You're not going to waste time writing a 3-page essay to respond to their email that they're never going to read. If they really want to talk about it, schedule a meeting. That's why I have a link. I use Acuity. It's connected to my website. I have a link I can send to all my clients, a free 15-minute meeting. Let's schedule a meeting. I love meeting with my clients. I love it. I don't shy away from it. I love an opportunity to serve my clients and to have the most updated and accurate books possible. Be quick and decisive when you're responding to emails. If you can answer the question, if it's a short email, if it's a short question and answer, be quick and decisive. Answer their question and move on. If they have follow-up questions, let them ask follow-up questions. Don't write a 3-page essay to respond to emails. Be quick, be decisive. Give an answer if you can. So there's 3 things you can do. Ask for clarification, recommend a phone call meeting, or just answer the question. And then also don't be afraid to use ChatGPT. Use ChatGPT. That's pretty straightforward. If it's a confusing question, or if it's a controversial question or a confrontational question, ask ChatGPT to give you a neutral and calm professional tone response to this question or to this email. And then obviously adjust it accordingly to make it sound more human. Hopefully this is helpful, guys. I've had a lot of situations come up in my bookkeeping business, and I'm just trying to give you examples of what's happened to me in the past so that you can avoid making the same mistakes that I made, so that you can fast track to success. That's the whole point. That's why I make these. If you guys want more resources, check out the links in the description of this video. I've got a ton of resources for everybody trying to start and grow their own bookkeeping business. Okay, 2 more things I want to talk about: managing scope creep and setting boundaries. You have to be strict with scope creep. Clearly communicate. I do 3 things. I categorize transactions, reconcile accounts, and I categorize your transactions. I don't do anything else. I do those 3 things. I don't do taxes or payroll or CFO services. I had a client call me and they asked me, hey, I need help with cash flow. I need help forecasting my cash flow. I need help budgeting my expenses. And I said, that sounds like CFO services. I can tell you what happened yesterday. I can't tell you what's going to happen tomorrow. Bookkeeping is all about historical transactions, previous transactions. CFO services is all about forecasting and budgeting in the future. You're paying me to do your bookkeeping. I'm a great bookkeeper. I'm an expert bookkeeper. I provide high quality customer service. I'm not a CFO. You're paying me $1,000 a month to do your bookkeeping. Guess what? CFO services, that's going to be another $2,000 a month. If you honestly want help with budgeting and forecasting, you're going to have to hire a fractional CFO. And just so you know, it's going to cost about $2,000 a month. That's what I would say to a client if they asked me for help. Class tracking, I already brought it up once. Class tracking for real estate investors and restaurants, that's extra. So if you pay me to just do regular bookkeeping, that's $3 per transaction. If you want me to do class tracking, think about it. When you're categorizing transactions, you need two things, a vendor and a category. If you add class tracking, you are adding 50% more work to your categorization. Now, instead of two things, you need three things. Now, every transaction, who did you pay? What did you buy? What's the class? You went from 2 categories to 3 categories. That's a significant increase in the amount of work you have to do as the bookkeeper. I'm charging $3 per transaction for regular standard bookkeeping, $4 per transaction if you want class tracking. Be strict. Be strict. Clearly communicate these things. It's going to save you. I promise you, it's going to save you in the future. Receipt matching. If you want me to match receipts to your QuickBooks transactions, I can do that, but it's going to cost extra. I'm not trying to nickel and dime my clients, but I also don't want them to take advantage of me because these things seriously take a lot of extra time. I don't just naturally do receipt matching to all of their transactions. That is so much more work. If you want me to do that, I can do it, but it's going to cost extra. And this way, if you do it that way, it forces the client, like if you're just going to do it for free, they're going to ask you to do a million things. You're going to do it anyway. So like, why not just ask you to do it? But if you agree to do it, but for a price, now it forces the client to decide, do I really want this? And then they might say, forget it. Like, don't worry about it. Like, I'll just keep the receipts in a shoebox. I'll just keep the receipts in my Google Drive. In the event of an audit, I still have my receipts. I don't need them in QuickBooks. Great. I agree. That's perfect. Accounts payable and accounts receivable are extra. I only record previous transactions. I'm not entering bills and creating invoices in QuickBooks. I can do that, but just like class tracking and receipt matching, that's extra. I typically charge $5 per accounts payable for full cycle accounts payable, entering the bills in QuickBooks, tracking your accounts payable, and then paying your bills. $10 for accounts receivable, $10 to create an invoice in QuickBooks, send it to a customer, track your accounts receivable, and send follow-up reminders to your customers on unpaid invoices. And then finally, only QuickBooks Online. I only work with QuickBooks Online. I don't work with any other software. I will not log into your Slack. I won't go to your JobTread. I won't go to your AppFolio. No other software. QuickBooks Online and cloud storage. I'll go to your Google Drive, your Dropbox, your OneDrive. I'll go there and pull documents, but I'm not doing anything in any other software because I don't want to learn other software. I'm a QuickBooks expert. I don't know AppFolio. I don't want to know AppFolio. If the client wants to use it, great. I'm not learning it. I don't want to. And I made it this far. So I'm hoping that by me telling you this stuff, hopefully you feel motivated and inspired and confident that you can also set these boundaries. Client agreement, super important. Client agreement. Anything extra will be charged extra. I specifically say that in my client agreement. Here's my services. Anything above and beyond these services will be charged extra. But then you have to ask yourself, time is money. Is it really worth it? You have to be willing to lose a client. So if they ask you to do something, if you don't want to do it, you can say no, but you have to be willing to lose a client. That's the trade-off. So if you don't want to lose a client, then you have to do whatever they want you to do. Trust me, you're better off losing a client than you are sacrificing on your boundaries and giving in on this scope creep. You're better off saying no. Stick to what you do because there are hundreds of business owners out there who just need a solid bookkeeper who's just going to categorize transactions. And then there's hundreds of business owners out there who are going to try to take advantage of you. So you got to stay away from the ones who are going to try to squeeze every ounce of time out of you, and focus your energy on the ones who are going to respect your boundaries and who are not going to expect scope creep out of you. It's just business. It's not personal. So if they ask you to do something and you say no, it's just business. I'm not saying no, I hate you, you're stupid. They're not saying, wow, why won't you do this? I hate you, you're an idiot. It's not like that. It's not personal. No. I understand you're asking me to do this. Unfortunately, I can't offer those services. That's all you can do. Just be honest, set boundaries, be transparent, be upfront, communicate effectively. And I say all this, I'm not perfect. I have learned this over the past 4 years. It's still a work in process. I'm still working on setting boundaries and saying no. It's so hard, but I'm hoping by talking about it here, being open about it, hopefully it inspires you to set better boundaries. Last thing, let's wrap up this video. It's been a long one. I'll say it one more time. Check out the links in the description if you want to learn more. Ton of resources, blah, blah, blah. Number 5, improve your efficiency and reduce your stress, because the faster you work, the more clients you have, the more money you can make. And that's what it's all about. Or the other way around, the faster you work, the more clients you can have and the less time you can spend bookkeeping. And so you can make the same amount of money in less time. So there's 2 different ways to look at this. If you're trying to make a ton of money, you absolutely can. You can work really hard and take on a bunch of clients. But if you're just trying to make a normal amount of money, you can work really quickly. You can easily make $50,000 a year in your bookkeeping business and probably only work 20 hours a week and spend the rest of your time with your family, or spend the rest of the time taking care of your elderly parents, or spend the rest of your time taking care of your horses, if that's what you're into. You can literally do whatever you want. You can work 20 hours a week and probably make $50,000 a year. I'm sure you could do it. Or you could work 50 hours a week and make $200,000 a year. Either way, faster you work, more clients you can get. Have a niche. This will reduce your stress and improve your efficiency. And when I say niche, there's a couple ways to look at it. You can have a niche in the services that you offer. Like me, I only do bookkeeping. So my niche is bookkeeping. I don't do taxes or payroll. You can also have a niche in the software that you work with. I only work with QuickBooks Online. I don't work with QuickBooks Desktop or Xero or Sage. So I have a niche in that sense. But then you can also have a niche in the industry who you work with. I do think it makes it easier to get clients. If you establish yourself as a real estate bookkeeping expert, real estate investors will be more likely to hire you. If you establish yourself as a real estate investor bookkeeper, then you're going to know how to do bookkeeping for real estate investors. It's going to be faster. You'll be able to work more efficiently. It will be easier for you if you have a niche. You don't need to have a niche. I don't really have a niche. My niche has kind of slowly evolved over the past 4 years. You don't need to have a niche. And then finally, stay on top of your tasks. You will get stressed out if you get too far behind. And if you get too far behind on your regular work, you won't be able to grow your business. You won't be able to handle cleanup projects. You won't be able to onboard new clients. So if you want to grow and if you want to reduce your stress, it starts with daily. Keep up with your tasks daily. Manage your calendar, manage your email inbox, keep up with your tasks, do your clients weekly, wake up early if you have to, stay up late if you have to, work on the weekend if you have to. But if you have a to-do list, you have to stay on top of your tasks.